Hello and greetings, my friend. Welcome back to the next episode here of the Red Delta Project podcast and live feed Q&A here on the RDP YouTube channel with another episode to help you be fit and live free. I'm your humble host, as always, Matt Schifferly. And today's topic is all about, well, essentially making fitness a heck of a lot easier so you can get much better results. We're going to be looking at why making things easier and having less effort when it comes to diet and exercise is essential for your success, and just making things harder for the sake of making things harder is guaranteed to be handicapping your progress. The reasons why we think that hard work and hustle culture will save us from our poor, sorry, lazy sinner selves, and why a lot of that is just completely wrong. But first, before we jump into that, I wanted to give you a little PSA and pay the bills, if you were, because my latest book, Beautiful Strength: How to Use Calisthenics and Fitness to Become Your Most Attractive Self, is still available over on Amazon, as well as the RDP PDF store. I also have my brand new supplemental book, my quick read, Iron Core Calisthenics, that just got released yesterday. Iron Core Calisthenics is all about essentially solving the mysteries of core training for you once and for all. It's a very simple, basic, no-nonsense approach for helping you build an entire lifetime of core strength in a very easy, relatively so, and efficient manner. Furthermore, I am wearing one of my new favorite shirts today. Yes, we actually have kind of a sponsorship on today's show. This is a brand of shirts, because the thing is, in all honesty, guys, like, I know fashion like I know, the makeup, chemical makeup of the core of Jupiter. Like, I don't know anything about fashion, but I do know one thing that's important. And that is that it doesn't matter if you build the most attractive, sexy, gorgeous physique in the world. If you're still wearing clothing that doesn't flatter you and doesn't fit you very well, you're still going to look like crap. And Lord knows I'm certainly the poster child of that for most of my life. I would see photos of myself. I'd be out with friends and family and stuff, and I'd look at the photos and it's like, my gosh, I'm putting in all this time to build muscle and I'm pretty lean and everything, but I still look like a bum because all my clothes didn't fit very well. Which is why I like this new brand here, Into the AM, which, first and foremost, real simple styles. I mean, just plain colors in their shirts. As someone who's in front of the camera on a daily basis, I don't want to be repping like some random brands and all these sorts of things. I just want simple, tasteful clothing that has a decent style to it, that offers simplicity and efficiency. And that's what this is. But it's more than that. It's because of the fit of Into the AM that I really like, that accentuates and flatters athletic physiques. This is the type of fitting shirt that you're not going to find off the rack at like Target or just some sort of like mass market store. These are hand built for the sake of helping you look your best. And that's why I really like it. So I've got a link down below if you want to check them out. They offer t-shirts, crew necks, V-necks. The cotton poly blend is extremely effective and comfortable for working out. Hoodies, jeans, you name it, they've got it. Got a discount code down below as well. Enter RDP10 for 10% off if you decide to check out, which does help support the show. Thank you very much. Okay, bills are paid. Here we go. We are talking about making fitness a lot easier. Not because, we're trying to find shortcuts and we want things to be, a little bit lazy and everything like that, but for several reasons, most of which is that your entire success when it comes to losing and managing body fat, building muscle, improving performance, everything that you want from fitness is entirely dependent upon you finding easier and efficient ways of making that happen. And the reason for it is very simple. It's because hard work, whether you're putting in physical work, mental work, emotional work, spending money as a form of work, anything that is using resources is work, because that's fundamentally what work is. You are expending resources that you have. And don't let me paint the wrong picture here. You absolutely have to work hard to make change happen. And the bigger the changes that you want to make happen and the faster you want to make these changes happen, the more work it's ever going to take you, which is all the more reason why we need to make things as efficient as possible. Because when we have things that are more efficient, your ability to produce better results skyrockets. But if you don't make things easier, or worse yet, you're striving for a lot of the ideas that I'm going to cover later here that tell you that hard work is the key to success, and therefore hard work itself becomes the result that, or the goal that you're after, that is guaranteed to be holding you back. I promise you, if you're not focused on some of the key principles I'm going to be sharing with you later on, and you're basically saying, I'm going to leave it in the gym, I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can, I'm just going to push myself to my limit all the time, I guarantee you are severely handicapping your potential and adding a lot more stress, completely unnecessary, by the way, to body, mind, and lifestyle. And the reason is simple. It's because while hard work is essential for your success, you only have so much work you can do or are willing to do. Because again, hard work is nothing more than the expenditure of resources. You only have so much time. You only have so much energy. You only have so much money. And so when you're basically making the goal to work as hard as possible for success, you're basically saying, I'm just going to spend as much as I possibly can. And that would be fine if you had unlimited time and energy and money and focus and motivation, but you don't. Moreover, a lot of other things in your life are taking up these resources as well, because there's a lot more to life than just diet and exercise habits. So we're working with a limited amount of resources, a very finite amount of work you can or are willing to do, which means if your approach is based on how much you can or are willing to work, you are guaranteed to hit a roadblock long before you reach your goal. And you're never going to get past that. It's impossible to endlessly scale hard work. And so you're basically just in the rat race now. You're working your tail off. You're basically trying to just survive the day and get through the workout and get through the diet and get through the work, the week. It's not very rewarding. It's not very motivating. And you're basically up a creek. And so when people are like, I feel like this isn't worth it, they're 100% right. This is why most people don't engage in diet and exercise habits, because they're basically assuming that it's just about working as hard as possible, and that's the key to success. Now, this idea is like, well, are you saying like you're giving into the laziness, Matt? Are you telling us that you're basically pandering to the lazy masses? No, because laziness and efficiency is not a modern day problem. It's not because we've suddenly got screens in our hands and social media in our brain and processed foods in our cupboards and refrigerator. That's not why we're lazy these days. Human beings are fundamentally efficiency-seeking machines, and for good reason. It's because our ancient ancestors, if we didn't constantly strive for and seek efficiency, we simply didn't survive. It was not a matter of, oh, I just don't want to spend too much energy getting up off the couch. It was literally, if you don't find a more efficient way to hunt and harvest food, you starve to death. If you did not find an easier and more efficient way to create and foster social connections, you became isolated from the tribe. If you did not find an easier and more efficient way to find or build shelter, you became exposed to the elements. Easiness and efficiency is hardwired into our human nature. We automatically understand that easier is better when it comes to productivity, because we absolutely needed that in order to survive as a species, and we still need that today. Because yeah, sure, we made things so easy when it came to cultivating food and shelter and even social connections that it's a lot easier. We don't really have to worry about those things anymore, but you still need things to be super efficient and as easy as possible for the survival of your habits. Because ultimately, we humans, as I address in Be Fit, Live Free, are emotional creatures. Every action we take on a daily basis depends on our motivation level. If you're not motivated to do something, you're simply never going to do it. You have to be motivated to work out. You have to be motivated to eat healthy. You have to be motivated to pursue your goals. No motivation, no chance whatsoever. And motivation is always down to that emotional balance sheet between how much effort something is taking you and how much you feel the reward is in coming in. And if something is too much effort and too much work and not enough reward, motivation will tank. And again, that's a fundamental part of human nature. That's a very good thing. Because again, if our ancestors back in the day were expending 1,000 calories to forage 500 calories, Our motivation to do whatever we were doing tanks for good reason, because it's saying you're not going to survive this. You have to do something that's easier and better and more rewarding. So when we lose motivation, that is a very healthy response for what we're doing. It's not laziness. It's not lack of morals. It's not lack of any of these sorts of things. It is 100% what's supposed to happen, and you're supposed to observe and obey that idea. If motivation is chronically tanking, that means you're supposed to stop doing the thing and find something better and easier and faster. And that's my whole mission for the next couple of weeks, and the YouTube videos I'm putting out, and even the book I'm going to be putting out in the next couple of weeks, of how do you make fitness easier? Because your success and the very survival of your habits depends on it. And if you don't abide by that, you're absolutely screwed. Or at least you're very, 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 very limited. You're going to basically end up working 2, 3, 4 times harder than you need to in order for a fraction of your potential. Essentially, you're getting ripped off. Okay, if you want to put it in blanket terms, you are spending $50 for a dozen eggs, and you're proud of the fact too. Even though someone's like, what are you spending $50 for? Like, that store is way overcharging you. You could buy eggs. I know they're still expensive, but you could buy eggs over here, the farmer's market, for like $7. No, I'm proud of how hard I work. Well, that's just foolish. There's no good reason to be proud of it unless you're going from nothing to something. In which case, yes, if you're going from the couch to a 5K, of course you should be proud of that, because it's a progress. Not because of the hard work, but because it's improvement. But being proud of hard work, as I'll share a little bit later, is the same thing as being proud of our participation trophy. You didn't accomplish anything. You don't win anything. There's no value there. You didn't really make anything worthwhile happen. You just put in effort. You just did work, which is the bare minimum of what you need to do in order to be successful. So I'm jumping ahead of myself here a little bit, but the point I really want to hammer home is the seeking of efficiency, making things as easy as possible, is 100% essential for success in everything in life. You will never find an example of success that did not happen or that was possible without making it easier. Everything from the invention of the written language, from the spoken language, to harnessing electricity, every piece of technology you're using to just listen to this podcast has made it easier for me to do this. I grew up in a time before the internet. I remember fitness coaches were like, oh, I'm going to sell fitness courses. And they had to mail out physical CDs in order to get the content in people's hands. Now it's so much easier because we have podcasts, you have YouTube and stuff. It automatically downloads to your device. So that's why podcasts are so much better at just bringing out information. Why? It's easier. It's just easier. It takes less work for you to hear these very words that I'm giving you. And that's why it's more effective. So easier is better, my friends. And we're going to be looking at why that may ruffle a few feathers, because it certainly did for me back in the day, and how to escape the traps of the fitness hustle culture here in a little bit. But first, a couple of questions. JBR type, how can I prevent overuse injuries in my arms and shoulders in warehouse work? Is there anything I can do to reverse any overuse injuries? Thanks very much. Very good question. It depends on, of course, what you're doing in the warehouse. It depends on what you're doing, but basically a lot of overuse injuries comes from poor alignment of how we're handling force through our body. This is the old lift with your legs, not with your back kind of idea. Right? We want to use the easiest and most efficient techniques. See, here we go again, so that the body is incurring far less stress every time you're loading up a pallet or loading up a truck or whatever you're doing in the warehouse. You need it to be as low effort as possible. So the best way to do this is to improve alignment with basic fundamental strength training, as I discussed in Beautiful Strength and all my other books and stuff, making sure that your back is strong. A big part of proper alignment in your shoulders and your arms and stuff is proper back strength. Being able to pack your shoulders down and back, external rotation in the shoulders. That stuff goes a long way at bringing better alignment to your upper body so you can work all day and just have barely any stress through the joints. Because that's the thing, is alignment is key. We martial artists inherently know this. If you have poor alignment, it takes nothing to hurt you. My instructor always used to do this demonstration on me, much to my chagrin, where he'd get me in like some sort of a wrist lock or something, right? Alignment that is to my detriment. And he'd be like, look, I can cause pain with just my pinky. And he just touched my finger and I'd be like, tap out, tap out, tap out. Because that's what alignment will give you, or misalignment is you can create a lot of damage with very little force. But good alignment was the opposite. I can put my hand through concrete bricks. I can hold a deep stance for long periods of time. I can get kicked by a sidekick. I got kicked in the throat one time by a buddy of mine, and I brushed it off because I was able to have good alignment. I kind of rolled with it. So alignment can help or hurt, and that's what you want to do. And back strength is very, very key. Check out my videos on back strength, or bridges. Bridges are very key for this sort of thing. And my new iron core calisthenics and beautiful strength also go into lateral chain training, side planks. A lot of times the issues we have in our back are actually lateral chain weaknesses, because most of us never train our lateral chain. But when you have a stronger lateral chain, everything about your back alignment improves. So your shoulder alignment improves, your arm alignment improves, your wrists, your joints, everything else improves as well. So keep your back strong and work your extension chain, back bridges, kettlebell swings, proper deadlifting technique, those sorts of things, just a little bit, a couple times a week, just to foster the alignment will go a long way for you there, JB. Dave9503 saying, Matt, why did you choose dive bomber push-ups instead of pike push-ups and beautiful strength? Simple. It's a lot easier to use dive bomber push-ups for building up your shoulders and triceps. A lot easier for several reasons. One, it's more adaptable and adjustable. Two, people have a lot easier time doing them technically proficient. I sometimes I'll have a client and I'll like dive bomber push-ups, and it's like several sessions later, I'm like, no, it's not like that. It's like this. Do it like this. Do it that. But dive bomber push-ups, they get it like that. But the biggest reason is simple range of motion. Okay, so dive bomber push-up and pike push-ups, they're both kind of overhead press kind of motions. Now, when we do dive bomber push-ups, particularly on the floor, you're limited by your head hitting the ground, which sometimes can be a good thing. But usually when it comes to building muscle, limited range of motion can be a long-term handicap. So when you do pike push-ups, you're bringing your hands roughly to the top of your head. If that, a lot of people get nervous about their head getting near the floor, rightfully so. They want to protect their head, so they don't even go that far. But with dive bomber, your hands come all the way to the bottom of your chest and all the way up. So you're getting a much bigger range of motion in your shoulders, plus activation in your chest, upper chest, more activation in shoulders, more activation in the triceps and traps as well. Pike push-ups are fine. They're great. They're not at all a bad exercise. But if you compare the two in their ability to help you develop strength, but more importantly, the beautiful physique that I talk about in beautiful strength, dive bombers all day long, much more efficient and effective. Tim Toons, love your new book, Beautiful Strength. Thank you very much. I gave me new motivation to start training again. Welcome back to the fold, my friend. So thank you very much. My former was quite similar, but I wanted too much at the same time. No clear goal. Yes, absolutely, my friends, because that's one of the most important things I put out in the video today. There are 4 things you can do to make fitness a heck of a lot easier and way more effective. Having a clear goal and objective is the first thing. Because honestly, seriously, most of us have no idea what we're actually trying to do in the gym. I see people working out and they're like, no, I know what I'm doing. My goal is to follow this program, okay? To follow this diet, to do these many sets, to do these many reps, to do these exercises, to avoid these foods. These are not goals, my friend. These are simply work-related goals. Because if you look at it, most of our fitness culture is not going to tell you how to actually build muscle and strength and lose weight and all these other sorts of things. Instead, they're usually saying, this is the diet to follow, this is the workout, this is the sets, this is the heart rate zone, this is all these sorts of things. They're concerned with the how, but very rarely the actual why. And when the how becomes the goal, what you're effectively doing is making the work the goal. So you're not actually having your eyes on the target of, I want to build muscle, I want to build strength, I want to improve stability, I want to lose body fat. That's no longer your goal. Your goal is the diet. or the workout program. And we're crossing our fingers and hoping that correlation versus causation kicks into effect. And we're saying, well, if I do this diet, then I lose the weight. Or if I do this workout program, then I'm going to build the muscle. And that's okay. But again, it's a correlation thing. Wouldn't you rather just go direct? Wouldn't you rather? It's kind of like saying, okay, if I wanted to hit a bullseye on a dartboard, do you want to just kind of shoot the arrow or the dart roughly in the general proximity of the dartboard and eventually you'll hit a bullseye by luck? Or do you want to actually get really good and aim directly for the bullseye? Go after exactly the thing that you need and that you want for your results. That makes things a hell of a lot easier, because I could throw darts blindly at a dartboard for hours and my arm is getting sore and I'm, oh my gosh, this is 3 hours now, and finally I hit a bullseye. Or if I just say, okay, I can aim and I can have a better technique. I just got some new darts the other day, which are awesome, and they're much more accurate with them. So that makes it easier. Dang, bullseye, 5 minutes, I'm done. Not that good at darts, but I could do it in 5 minutes for sure. Probably actually 30 seconds. Easier is better. Easier is way better. And having that objective is big in making that happen. One more before we jump into why we think hard work is important when it really isn't as important. Shamar Thomas said, Matt, what is an easy, simple, foolproof way to track your workouts that remove stress from mind, body, and lifestyle? Things like this can get overcomplicated with all the info out there. Fantastic question. Okay. You're going to see, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record here, or like I'm just, trying to shill my own stuff and stuff. But seriously, years ago, I started to develop what I now call the adaptive training program. Used to be called my scoreboard progressive log. Because one, I absolutely abhor spreadsheets with a passion. I have a hard enough time just reading a calendar. It's just something in my mind. I just can't stand those stupid little boxes. And it's too tedious and it's too restrictive and it's not adaptable and everything like that. So years ago, I started to develop what I call the scoreboard, or the adaptive training log. And that has evolved over the years to a system that is so dead simple for tracking workouts and knowing exactly what you need to do to accomplish your results, exactly what you're doing in every workout, but it also gives you adaptability so you can adjust your workouts on a case-by-case basis to make them even more effective. I talk about my scoreboard progression log to a degree in Beautiful Strength. It's my latest book. I cover it in much more detail in the actual quick read that I have over at reddeltaproject.com called the Adaptive Workout Log. I talk about it in most of my books to some degree, just because it's the method I use for everybody that I train. And I've used it for well over a decade now. And it just keeps getting better and easier. I can tell a client exactly what they need to do in a workout to have an effective workout with a glance. I'm not filling in stupid little boxes. I'm not working with a million different variables and everything like that. It tells me exactly what I need to do. And I'm going to be mentioning it more in a new segment coming up, probably after a few more weeks, all about self-coaching. Because keeping a workout log is essential for self-coaching. But I'll be covering that more. So if you want to wait for that, that'll be coming out. But if you check out reddeltaproject.com or Beautiful Strength, it just came out, I covered that as well. Very simple system, and once you get it up and running, it takes that much work and effort, but it always is like a compass needle, directs you exactly where you need to go. Tim Toons coming back on. So Matt, with a clear goal of building muscle, which is fine, I always have FOMO of losing my endurance or strength. So this is one of the reasons why we have such a hard time selecting a goal, my friends. Because whenever you are saying, oh, I'm going to go for this objective over here, build muscle or endurance or strength or whatever like that, you can't go after anything without simultaneously going away from something else. That's the reason why we can stand in a grocery store for 20 minutes looking at an entire aisle of nothing but peanut butter going, I can't make a decision. Should I go chunky? Should I go super chunky? Should I go with the honey peanut butter and stuff? We can't make a decision because we got so many options and we're afraid of missing out. But the more focused you get on exactly what you want, and it's really what you want. It's not, oh yeah, that'd be kind of nice to have. Yeah, that'd be neat. I kind of want that. No, what is driving you? What keeps you up at night? What is the fire in your soul for what you desire from your fitness habits? That's what you pursue. Because yeah, sure, you could go after 100 other things, and you're going to suck at most everything. Okay? For example, I am terrible at calisthenics skills. Yeah, I can't tell you the last time I did a muscle up. I don't care about muscle ups or front levers or human flags and all these sorts of things. I can't do a handstand to save my life, right? So I don't pursue them because I go after things that are more about just looking and feeling better. And can you do that with skills? Absolutely. Is it the easiest way to go about it? No, I use other things that are a hell of a lot easier to accomplish those goals. That's why I do those things that I outlined in Beautiful Strength. So I go after things that make it easier for me to get what I want. Yeah, I suck at running. I can't swim worth a damn. There's a million things I'm not very good at, but it doesn't matter to me. So that's fine. Now, you, of course, going to be getting some carryover. You do circuit training, for example, you're going to have endurance. You're going to have strength if you're working, challenging your work capacity to build muscle. So you're not going to lose as much as you think you are. And you can do like periodization style training. So you are emphasizing things here and there. But there does come that line in the sand where you got to say, yeah, I'm not going to really make a lot of headway in this area. And I'm fine with that. Because it's not saying no to that. It's saying yes to the thing you actually do want. And other people are the opposite. They're like, I don't care what I look like with my shirt off. I just want to be stronger. More importantly, I just want to be stronger in powerlifting moves. That's my compass needle. That's your true north. Okay, well then what the hell are you doing practicing front levers? Go and do your deadlifts. Go after the things that you want, my friends. It's going to make it a lot easier for you to be happy and healthy and get what you want versus going in a million directions. And if you don't know right now, that's fine. That's perfectly okay. You'll figure it out in time through experience. You'll get there. You'll get there. But anyway, moving on to our conversation topic today, we were talking about how making things easier and more efficient is essential for your success. It's essential for your quality of life as well. Because as I mentioned earlier, when you spend resources for workout and diet and all these other things, you're taking resources away from other things in life, which is fine. You're like, well, I'm not spending as much time watching TV or doom scrolling. I'm like, okay, that's hardly much of a detrimental sacrifice. But when it comes to the point of, well, I'm no longer spending very much time with friends and family, okay, that's time to question priorities there, which I've certainly made that mistake because, again, I thought hard work was the answer to everything back in the day. But anyway, why do we worship at the hard work? As I mentioned before, lack of direction, lack of goal, lack of objective. When you don't know what your objective is, your goal is to just do a whole bunch of everything. And so you don't have a way to filter out the unnecessary work because it's real easy to work your tail off. Ironically enough, one of the laziest things you can do is just work as hard as possible because it's real easy to work hard. It's real easy to just do more of whatever you're doing. But when you have direction, you have focus. And focus is very costly. It's very hard to have that focus because it means saying no or deprioritizing everything else. But it also makes it a lot easier because you're like, yep, going to the gym. I got these 3 exercises to do. I'm going to do 2 sets of each with this goal and objective. 20 minutes later, and I'm done. Okay, great. There's that saying that went around on social media way back in the day. It's like, I don't stop when I'm tired. I stop when I'm finished. And that, bro, egotistical type of saying meant, I'm not going to stop because I'm tired. I'm going to keep going despite my fatigue. But you can also go the other way and say, I don't stop when I'm tired. I stop when I'm finished, which means, yeah, I'm finished. I still have plenty of energy left. I'm not exhausted, but I'm finished. I reached my goal. I got to my destination. I'm not just going to keep driving around in circles, wasting gas. And that's unfortunately what a lot of people do when they lack an objective and a focus, is they're just burning gas, hoping they're just going to get to where they want to go through luck and correlation. So have that objective. I cover this in Beautiful Strength. I cover this in Be Fit, Live Free. I cover this in upcoming videos here on the channel. because I got an entire series all about how to make it a lot easier to perform better, to manage healthy eating and fat loss, and for building muscle and strength as well. So make sure you're subscribed for those videos and stuff like that. But a lot of good stuff coming down the pipe. The reason number two why we worship at the altar of hard work: ego. I'm certainly guilty of this for many years. Back in the day, people used to tell me, they're like, well, Matt, I wish I could be in shape like you, but you got to realize it's easy for you. It's hard for me to get in shape. And man, did that piss me off, because I always worked very hard, of course, like everybody does. Everybody works hard. Nobody's got an easy plan, easy play here in life. But I used to take offense to that. Now I take it as a source of pride. Like, you're damn right, it's easier for me. I've done the homework. I've done decades of research. I've been working very hard, ironically enough, to make this whole fitness thing as easy as possible. And now I can manage and lose body fat with a fraction of the effort, hardly any effort at all on my part. I can get in an effective workout in a fraction of the time and effort than I used to. And my workouts are much less taxing for body, mind, and lifestyle. When people are like, well, it must be nice, to have it that easy. It's not that. It's awesome. It's wonderful. It is the best. It is all good things, no bad things at all. Because when we get more productive with less work, it's all win, 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 win. All benefits, no downsides. You're getting rid of the bad stuff. You're adding more of the good stuff. It's that simple. So the ego gets sometimes attached to hard work, again, largely because we suck. I had a big ego about how hard I was working because I was always a terrible athlete. I was not a very good student in school. I basically was not very good at anything. But I could hang my self-esteem and with a shred of self-esteem I had on the fact that I can outwork anybody here. No one's going to outwork me. I could take pride in the fact that I could kick my own butt, which again is like being proud of our participation trophy. It's such a low bar that it's like, really? You're that bad that you're proud of just working hard? That's a pretty low bar. Really? Okay. But we don't want our ego attached to those things, because then when we do learn of better and more intelligent ways to eat and exercise and actually get better, so we can actually be proud of our performance and stuff, we're actually going to shun it away. I used to do that all the time. People would be like, oh, why don't you eat this way? You'll be healthier. Why don't you train this way? You'll be faster and stronger and better. And I was like, no way, man, no. Even though it would have made me a better athlete and would have made me stronger and healthier and all those things I could actually be proud of. Nope. I had to be the guy who was exhausted and weak and miserable, because that's where my ego was on. And that's not a good thing. So don't let your ego be attached to how hard you work. Everybody works hard. Everybody is kicking their own butt. Nobody is not working hard. Okay, it's kind of like saying I'm proud because I can breathe. Okay, great. Bar is that low for you, huh? So don't let your ego and your self-esteem be attached to how hard you work. Build something. Do something worthwhile rather than just working your tail off. And the third one we'll cover here before we get back to the questions is the need for certainty. This is a big one that holds a lot of people back in fitness, because a lot of times we get into the fitness world because we're scared and we're insecure and we're uncertain about our bodies. Understandably so. We get a bad, poor diagnosis from a doctor. We don't like the look of the image in the mirror. We just don't feel very good. We feel like age is stealing the spring in our step, whatever, right? The whole point of fitness is to say you can have more control over this thing you have limited control over, which is your body, your health and fitness, right? But the problem with that is when we come out at it with so much insecurity, we feel so uncertain about ourselves. We have very low confidence, low self-esteem to make a decision. So we think to ourselves, I want to know for sure what to do. I want to know the right routine that's going to guarantee me gains. I want to know for sure the right diet to follow. I want to know beyond a shadow of a doubt what I need to do in order to get my results. Well, I got news for you, my friend. You're never going to get there. You're never going to have that. The more you seek certainty, the more certainty will elude you. Because the more you go online and you're like, can someone tell me exactly how many sets I need to build muscle? You're going to get 20 different opinions from 30 different people. So, of course, you're not going to find certainty that way. Oh, can someone tell me if red meat's good for me or bad for me? Again, you ask 5 people, you'll get 6 answers. How are you supposed to find certainty? And so the more you go seeking certainty, the more certainty will elude you. So what ends up happening is eventually we just get kind of sick of the whole debate and the rigmarole and everything. And we're like, fine, Thanos, I'll do it myself. And that's why we fall for the overs. We start overtraining, over dieting, overthinking, over researching, just basically saying, I'm going to work my way to certainty. I am going to put in all the effort I can to find and finally manage certainty because at least I know I can depend on hard work. Well, I got news for you. No, you can't. Hard work is not that dependable. You don't always get out what you put in. In fact, when hard work is the goal, I guarantee that you're going to be put in a lot you're not going to get anything out of. Because again, your goal is not results anymore. Your goal is to just work hard. And if your goal is just to work hard, come on over. I got a lot of work you can do. Go wash my car. Go do all this other stuff. Mow this guy's lawn. I got lots of work. If you want to work hard, there is no short of work that you can do in the world. Will most of it get you what you want? Absolutely not. But again, you don't care about results. You care about work, right? Because you think if you work hard enough, you find certainty, and you won't. And moreover, not only will you never find absolute certainty, you don't want absolute certainty. Absolute certainty is a bad thing. As I always said, certainty is the refuge of fools and cowards, because a little bit of uncertainty leaves our minds open to growth and learning and progress. And you have to always have that curiosity of like, I wonder if there's a better way for me to do this workout. I wonder if there's I've been doing it this way, but I think there's a better way to do. The more you have a little bit of curiosity, which uncertainty fosters curiosity, the more you can grow. But with second, you're like, I know exactly what the right diet is. I know for sure what the exact program I need to follow is. Your mind closes up like a bear trap, and your ability to learn and grow and evolve is basically gets shut off. You're starving yourself of your own potential because, again, you don't want results. You just want certainty. You want security. I say be confident in that insecurity, that little bit. You need to know enough to be like, I have a good idea of what I'm doing and what to do and the next steps to take. That's good. You just need enough certainty to take action. But if you are always fearful and you like, I need 100% certainty, then you're going to strive for hard work at the cost of results. And that's not a good thing. And that's absolutely what I used to do for many years. And I regret it. Salvatore, good to see you, said. I haven't improved my lat pull down for a year, not even a little bit. Is this normal? Not only is it normal, it's to be expected. Remember, my friends, that plateaus are not only inevitable, but they are a necessary part of growth. But I would say to you, Salvatore, what's going on is that your perception of a plateau is because you're basing it on a single metric, how much weight you can lift or how many reps you can do. Progression can happen in many different avenues, particularly in technique. So what I would do if I were you is search for YouTube videos, get a set of eyes on you, either a coach or even a gym buddy, or record yourself on video, watch yourself on video. I know you're probably not going to do this because people don't like doing this, but I guarantee you, you will learn a lot if you watch yourself do a set of lat pull downs. Where is your technique falling short? Here's a better example for you. What is the difference between your first repetition and your last repetition? Is your range of motion shorter? Are you using more body English and waving back and forth? Are your shoulders starting to hunch up? Are your elbows flaring out? Whatever that change is, fight that change. That's the thing you need to work on to break your plateau. And whatever that is, and again, you may need to record yourself to see what that is, but if you're just paying attention to your technique, you'll probably see it. But whatever is eroding in your technique between your first and your last set, or a repetition, also as you're going through further sets, whatever that is, fight that. So if your range of motion is eroding, try to do the same thing. In fact, I would say force the plateau. Stay with the same weight, stay with the same repetitions. Don't even try to do more. Focus only on improving that technical aspect of it. And when you start to get that stronger, then you're going to be like, oh, wow, I can do a couple more plates. Oh, wow, I can do 5 more reps. There's the way forward for you, my friend. Amy Watson, good to see you. Wonderful honesty and humility as a trainer has won me over. Well, thank you. Thanks for your books are excellent. Much appreciated, Amy. Thank you so much for the little testimonial there. Much appreciated as always. Micaiah Masterson, DJ Micaiah, good to see you. I want it all. A nice body, muscle sculpting, weight loss, mobility, but I still want to bulletproof for parkour and gymnastics. Now, that's not saying that when you have an objective that you're saying, I'm going to go for this and get nothing out of the other objectives, of course. It's like, okay, I want to build muscle, but, I still want to get stronger. Oh, well, yeah, of course you're going to get stronger too. You're not prioritizing it. So we can make the argument that you're not going to get as strong as you possibly could if you were focusing on purely strength training, but you're going to have a lot of carryover. And that was why I selected many of the exercises like the dive bomber push-ups in beautiful strength. Because when it comes to curating an attractive physique aesthetically, it also needs to be attractive in how you move and body language, how you carry your posture, and so on. So we can't have a very focused approach when it comes to building beautiful strength, because if we think it's just strength or just muscle or just body fat, then the other weaknesses will still have ugly detrimental influences to your attractiveness. So that's why the exercises that I included in that and the whole programming that I use is all about kind of like, yes, we're focusing on building muscle, we're focusing on managing body fat, but there's also benefits of stability. There's also benefits of mobility, which will give you more bulletproofing for parkour and gymnastics. We're also focusing on coordination and 100 other things. Fitness is not like in a bubble. You're not in a very focused thing like, okay, this is focusing on endurance and there's no other benefits. You're always going to have a plethora of benefits no matter what you do. It's just where you create an emphasis. I talk about this with the single joint exercises in beautiful strength, like bicep curls. You don't want to isolate your biceps. You want to include them with the rest of your pull chain. It's just there's an emphasis on the biceps. So when you are going after something like strength, building muscle, things like that, you're creating an emphasis, but you're not outright denying your ability to make progress in other areas. This is why things like periodization exist. It's like, okay, I'm going to spend 3 months focusing on this objective, but I'm still accomplishing the other ones to some degree. Okay, now I'm going to go after this objective, and I'm still getting the other ones also to some degree as well. It's not like there's a line. We used to think of this all the time when it came to like, oh, if you want strength, you need to do 3 to 5 reps. And if you want to build muscle, it's like 6 to 12 reps. And if you want endurance, it's 13 or more reps. Like as if there's this line in the sand that means, oh, you did 13 reps. You're not building muscle. You're only building endurance. No, it doesn't work that way. Everything is kind of connected. It's just where's the emphasis that you're trying to develop, but you're still doing other things. Nilsson, hi from Rio de Janeiro. Welcome, thank you. Do you think that someone with more than 60 years old can start a workout and be very strong? Absolutely, 100%. Remember, my friends, that we never lose our adaptive capacities as human beings. And this is why I often tell people the older you get, the more important it is and the more beneficial it is for your quality of life to do strength training. So the whole, but I'm old, I'm like, great, all the more reason to do it. But we never lose. The speed of your adaptation and maybe the upper limits of what you can achieve may decrease with age, but your ability to adapt to a stimulus in your training, you never lose that. Mark Dober, any advice for golfers' elbow? This is the alignment thing I was talking about earlier. Too much internal rotation when you're doing things. Work on strengthening your back. External rotation a little bit while you're doing your strength training. And for now, don't do things that hurt, obviously. Because here's the thing with injuries we got to understand, folks, is that you can do everything right and it's still going to be bad because you're injured. If I busted my ankle, and I was like, okay, I'm working on my technique. I'm walking better. I've got the walking. Why does it still hurt? It's like, because you're broken. You have an injury. You have to let it heal. And things like that, they just take a long time to heal. There's just no two ways about it. golfer's elbow and stuff. I mean, some people have it for months and months on end. So you got to be patient, put heat on it, work on your external rotation and every upper body exercise you ever do. And that'll go a long way for doing that. And let pain be your guide as always. If it's really bad, get some eyes on it. Hey, experimentation on yourself and trying out things, knowing there is a very real metric, I'd say, for any goal. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. That is exactly it. Because here's the other thing with detrimental hard work that can be hard with hard work is because you go into the gym, you crush yourself in your workout, you drive yourself into the ground. You're a puddle of blood, sweat, and tears at the end of it. When hard work is the goal, you walk out of that gym with that your head held high, saying that was a great workout. I am really happy with that. Did you actually accomplish anything? Damned if you know, you don't care because you just care about hard work. But when you're doing here is experimentation, trying out things, noting the results, feedback, my friends, knowing what's happening, writing it down and stuff, that is the key to moving forward because that's literally telling you, oh, you did this thing and it didn't really work out so well for you. Okay, don't do that. But if hard work's your goal, you're going to keep doing that because you don't know any better. You're not disciplined about it. You're just obedient to chasing after the effort and the hard work. So that's absolutely true. Very true. All right, more reasons why we just think hard work is the bomb and we just strive for it at the detriment of our progress. And again, I'm not saying hard work's bad. You need hard work. You just need to use it as a tool, not the goal. Hard work, for lack of a better word, propaganda, is everywhere in our fitness culture. It's also very prevalent in like corporate culture. Here in the United States of America, I grew up on this stuff. All right, you got to be a team player. You got to be contributing. You know, someone puts in their weekend for a weekend, and it's like, look at Bob over there. He slept under his desk. Isn't that awesome? And everything. This type of idea is very heavily evangelized in our Western society. And it's certainly there in our fitness culture because it's made to put hard work itself on the pedestal, that people who work hard get rewards. But here's the thing. A lot of the people who will talk about hard work being the key are actually the ones who benefit from your hard work. You ever notice this? When your boss is saying, oh, you got to put in the overtime without pay, by the way, and you got to sacrifice time with your friends and family for the good of the project and all these sorts of things, they're the ones benefiting from your hard. You're not benefiting. They're the ones benefiting. When your coach is saying, I don't care if you got heat stroke and all these sorts of things, you got to get out there and play, they're the ones benefiting. You're not. So a lot of this idea of hustle, 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 hustle is largely out there for your detriment, but someone else's benefit. You got to be real careful with it. Now, that's not to say that your hard work shouldn't benefit other people. That's how things work. I absolutely understand that. If I write and produce better books, Amazon gets more money because they take a cut from everything that I give them. Or GoDaddy gets money because they take a cut from what I sell on my website stuff. And they are more than welcome to it because they do a lot of the work I don't want to do. And so I'm happy to give them their cut. So yeah, I work harder, they get more benefit. But the thing is, I also get more benefit as well. So yes, harder work, working harder can be great, but make sure you're the one benefiting from it. It's not a case of, oh, work your complete tail off for the next year and a half, and we'll dangle the carrot at the end of the stick for a promotion or a raise and all these sorts of things. Oh, great. So you absolutely kill yourself in the office to get this project done. Your boss gets a raise, your boss gets a bonus, the company does better. And they're like, oh, yeah, about that bonus. Yeah, okay. Well, maybe next year, Jim. It's like, no, you're in that situation, get out. People are exploiting you, and that's not fair. So be careful with this idea when you hear these ideas of work, work, work yourself to death, because it's usually not for your benefit. It's for someone else's benefit. Another reason why we hard work is we think other people value it, that it gives us respect, that other people respect and admire our hard work. And to a large degree, no one cares. Okay. No one cares if you're putting in extra time. No one cares if you're working yourself to death in the job or the gym or your diet and whatnot. So the vast majority of people just do not care. Those who do care would much rather you not work as hard. And so it's detrimental. For example, I'm finding ways to make it a lot easier for me to write my books that can change people's lives. That's why I write my books. I'm doing it purely so that I can change people's lives and uh, support my own life. Now, my old method of doing it meant that I would write a book every year to 18 months. My first book cost me 5 years of work. Now I've got a new method that I'm using, and it's going to allow me to write a book every several weeks, much faster. Would you rather have a life-changing book in a couple of weeks or a couple of years? Well, I can't speak for you, of course, but I would willing to bet that you'd rather have it sooner than later, right? Well, that's because you'd rather me not work as hard. If I can produce that book in a fraction of the time so you can get it faster and cheaper and more effective in the writing, that's better for you, right? Hard work is a liability, not for yourself, but also for those around you. Because remember, it's an expenditure of resources. If you're spending more time and energy and money on getting in shape, that means you're also taking it away from friends and family because you have to do it. That's one of the biggest things that holds a lot of people back from getting in shape is because they're like, I don't want to be selfish. I don't want to take the time and the energy and the money when I've got kids to feed and I've got a wife who wants me home at night and all these other sorts of things. It's selfish. Well, yeah, you have to spend resources on yourself. So, less resources you have to spend, aka the less work and effort it takes, the better off they are. And they're like, oh, great. In college, I once went and visited a girlfriend. I didn't get there till like 9 o'clock at night. And I thought I was going to come into her place with like a hero's welcome. I'm like, oh, it's so amazing. You've been working so hard. You've been studying so hard and you were in the gym for 4 hours today. Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that about you, Matt. Nope. Boy, did I read that one wrong. I came home to not a happy welcome at all. She's like, where the hell have you been? I've been having a crappy day. I'm not feeling well. I wanted you to pick something up at the grocery store, but now the stores are closed and I can't get the medicine that I need and everything. What the hell is wrong with you? Because I was working too hard. And she, by golly, if I could have done it and been, at her place that afternoon, she would have been much happier with it, much happier with me too. So yeah, most people don't care how hard you're working. And the ones who do would rather you not work as hard because it means you're taking resources that they would otherwise you spent on them in short order. This is why hard work can be a liability for yourself and for everyone else. So no, they don't value it. And again, if the only people who are saying, oh, you're such a hard worker, we value your hard work. Yeah, because they benefit from it, not you. Two more here. Reasons why we think hard work is all that we need to follow is that to a certain degree, working harder does actually produce results. Absolutely. I know this is going to be one of the things in the comments down below. People are like, what? Of course, you work harder, you get better results. You do as a beginner. Absolutely. And that is certainly the case when you're an amateur or when you're starting off in the thing. When you are not doing very much and you do more, you put the odds much more in your favor of getting better results. When I started Taekwondo, I went to 1 class a week. Then I worked harder and did 2 classes a week. Much better results. 3 classes a week. Better results. 4 classes a week. Questionable, I guess. 5, not better. 6, probably worse. 7, and I just kept thinking, well, going from 1 to 2 was a game changer for me. 2 to 3 was even better. So obviously more work is always the answer. And this is why we, again, need to understand that work is nothing more than the expenditure of resources. Because when you expend more and more resources, you have a diminishing rate of return, which means you're being less productive for every hour and ounce of energy and every dollar you're spending. But you also have an exponential increase in cost. So going from 1 class to 2 classes a week Took some effort, but it wasn't really that big a deal. But I got a big benefit from it. But going from 6 to 7 classes a week was a lot of effort. I had to rearrange my work schedule. I had to make sacrifices in time I spent with my friends. My grades started to suffer a little bit because I couldn't do as much homework and everything. So there was a huge cost from going to 6 to 7 classes a week. And really, the benefit was questionable at best. So this is why we need to recognize that, yes, working harder and putting in more time and effort can absolutely be beneficial if you're not doing very much to begin with. But there is a diminishing rate of return for the more work you put in and an exponential increase in cost. Furthermore, recognize that most of the time when people are talking about doing more work, they're not talking about doing anything better. They're just talking about doing more of the same thing they're already doing. And a lot of times that redundancy means much more work, not really moving the needle very much. That's one of the biggest killers in workouts that I find when I assess people's workouts. I'm like, why are you doing 5 different push-up variations? It's like, it's a lot of work, but you're not really doing anything that different from, all those variations. So it's just a lot of work that's watering down your intensity. So hard work is good. You need it. Putting in more work can absolutely be beneficial, but only to a point, and be on the lookout for where that is. Okay. Before I get to the last one, let's get into some more questions. Cat was saying is it has to place in starting things and pioneering avenues, but not as a lifestyle. Yeah, very good. Yeah, and here's the buzzword that always gets me too, when people are like, oh, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. It's not a workout, it's a lifestyle. Oh my goodness. Whenever someone's throwing around that buzzword about a certain thing, that means it's going to be a crap ton of work. It's like, this is going to take over your life. Ah, great. You don't need that. I don't have an Oral-B lifestyle. I don't have a dental hygiene lifestyle. I have a toothbrush, I got toothpaste, and dental floss. Twice a day, I go in, I get the job done, simple, quick, and easy, and it's not a lifestyle. It's not that much. It's a very little bit of work that keeps me, orally healthy. And that's the same thing I take when it comes to diet and exercise. Simple tools, simple approaches, get in, get the job done, and get on with your life. It shouldn't have to take over your life. It shouldn't be an identity. It's like, well, I do this. I practice calisthenics. I'm not going to go around saying, I'm a calisthenics guy, blah, blah, blah kind of thing. It's like, I just do calisthenics. I do push-ups. That's not my worthiness as a human being. That's not my identity. My identity is Matt Schifferly. That's what my identity is. And I just happen to do pull-ups. I got a pull-up bar behind me. La-di-da. Doesn't really do a whole lot as far as lifestyle goes. Tim Toon saying, Matt, question on jumping squats in level 2 in beautiful strength. Yes, you mentioned doing sets of not pushing to failure, still only 2 sets. Yes. But remember, you may not have read this far in the book. There are times when you do 3 or more. Because when you have 2 sets, you have 2 numbers, and those 2 numbers create a relationship between the 2 of them. One of them's higher, one of them's lower, they're the same. Those are the 3 different scenarios. And those 3 different scenarios, that relationship tells you what you need to do or work on to make progress. You may not be at that part in the book. So that's 2, but that's 2 work sets. 2 working sets. Doesn't include warm-up sets. For jump squats, for example, you may be like, oh man, my knees are kind of creaky until I kind of do some warm-up squats and maybe an isometric squat, wall sit and stuff. Okay, now I could do my jumps. That's not the work sets. 2 work sets is balls out, everything you got, all the effort you have into those 2 sets. Now, some exercises may be a little bit different. So when it comes to the jump squats, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the book. I should have if I haven't, is that you keep the sets or the repetitions 3, 6, or 9. And it's not all out effort for work capacity. It's all out effort for explosiveness. So you're jumping as high as you possibly can. You're not going until you're barely able to stand up or barely able to squat. Generally, when it comes to power and explosive stuff like that, a good rule of thumb is you do it until you start to lose power. You can't do the exercise. Because remember, failure is very subjective. And a lot of times it's a question of failure of what. So a lot of strength coaches, particularly in athletic fields, will base how far they take a set or when they progress or regress the load based on speed. So they'll use, the speed measuring cables on barbells and stuff like that, where they're like, okay, at 5 repetitions, you started to really slow down, you're done. It's like, yeah, but I can keep going. I'm like, I don't care. We're going to the limit of your power, not the limit of your ability to do reps. So in that case, it's failure or close to failure of power, explosiveness, not can you keep doing it. Should probably make an addendum in the book on that. But now you know. Good question. Very good question. Master Stratocaster. Badass name. Very good. Matt, can I build and continue to build muscle with swimming for lengths of crawl, progress the speed? I'd also like to know if I could just use pull-ups to cover all of the upper body. 2 questions there. The answer to both is no. Yes, you can absolutely build muscle. You can build muscle with anything that challenges your work capacity. But again, my friends, it all boils down to what is going to be easier. When people ask, is this method going to produce a result? Is this exercise good? Is this going to be good? Is this, all we got to do is say, is it going to be an easy as possible way for me to achieve my fundamental objective that I talked about earlier, to achieve my goal? You can do it. You can buy a dozen eggs for $50. Doesn't mean it's the way to go, though. We want it as easy as possible. So can you build muscle with swimming? Yes. Is it going to be the easiest way? Absolutely not. I guarantee if you got a couple good hard sets of some strength exercises, it's going to be a lot easier to build muscle than with the swimming. Can you cover the full body with just use pull-ups? No. No, you need some pushing in there. You remember, folks, there is a big difference between using muscles and working muscles. So when you're talking about, like, does the pull-up, for example, use the muscles in the chest? To a degree. Your pec minor can be responsible for some degree of scapular depression, and you do have a little bit of pectoral activation with some shoulder extension from an overhead position. One of your tricep heads does cross over your shoulder joint. So when people do pulling motion, they're like, I kind of feel that in my tricep a little. Yeah, long head of the tricep does connect a little bit, so you are getting that a little. But again, these are things that they're using the muscles versus working the muscles. And that's what you want. When you want to build muscle, you need to challenge your muscular work capacity. And it's really hard to do that with swimming, especially when you're good at swimming. And it's really hard to do that for the upper body, entire upper body, with pull-ups. You want some pushing there as well. You're covering a lot of ground with that, but you're going to be better off with more. You don't need a lot more. I'm not saying you got to go and do bodybuilding routines and stuff, but throw in a push move there if you want to build up your upper body. All right, final reason why we often think we need to over-depend on hard work, and hard work is the answer, be all and all for success, is that a lot of messages in our fitness culture have conditioned us to fear and shun, quote, shortcuts. Coaches all the time, they're like, there are no shortcuts anywhere worth going. If they don't get you where you want to go, they're not shortcuts, then are they? Kind of thing. And that's what we're trying to do. We're finding ways to make that curvy, roundabout, cockamamie path between where we are to where we want to go in a straighter line, so we save time. We're finding shortcuts. It's just that simple. But there's a lot of stuff out there saying the easier way is not the way. There are no shortcuts to anywhere with going. If it's easier, don't do it, kind of thing. I used to say those things myself. I fell for that rhetoric myself for decades. I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. Because as I started this whole conversation off, the only chance we have of achieving better results beyond a certain amount of effort and maintaining those results, that's the other thing, whatever work you put in, you have to constantly put in to maintain those things. The only way we can do this is by making things easier and more efficient. It's not a luxury. It's not being lazy. It is an absolute 100% necessary. Make it easier or fail to achieve your objectives. It's that simple. Yeah, you can make more headway by working harder, but know that you're stacking the deck against you. The more you work into it, the more you're stacking against you. And so we want it as easy as possible. The less effort you need, the better. Because your success does not come from hard work. It comes from productivity. You're not going to be successful because you work your tail off. This is one of the reasons why we lose motivation and why there's a lot of frustration in the world, especially when it comes to fitness. I've been working so hard. I put in all this time and all this energy and all this money and all this effort, and all I've done is lose 2 pounds or whatever. Yeah, great. Want a participation trophy? Because that's about all you deserve at that point. You don't deserve anything for working hard. Hard work in and of itself has no value. Productivity is where the value is. And you're not going to be productive if you don't have the goal set of what you're trying to accomplish. And if hard work itself is the goal, well, congratulations. You succeeded at working yourself to death, working your tail off. Because here's the great thing that I want to leave you with here, folks, is that we humans are actually really good about achieving that what we set our mind to. We're actually really, I know a lot of times people are like, oh, it's so hard to do anything worthwhile. It's actually not. When you really set your focus and intention towards a particular objective, we're really good at making things happen for ourselves. It's actually a lot easier than we think. But it's that old adage with the genie, be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. And a lot of times we're just having the wrong orientation in our intention. We're not having the intention of getting results. We're just having the intention of working ourselves like crazy. If that's your goal, I guarantee you're going to be able to succeed at that. But if you're like, I have the goal or the objective approach that I'm going to work myself as much as I can because I want to lose body fat, you have conflicting goals now. You're trying to chase two rabbits. The old idea is the fox who chases two rabbits catches none. Go after what you want. Go after the objectives that are important for you. Again, I got videos coming out on that. I cover it in Be Fit, Live Free. I cover that to a degree in Beautiful Strength as well. Go after the objective. And then you do as much work as necessary to achieve those objectives. That way, you do enough work to get the job done, but not more that you're wasting lots of time and energy and money, which sadly is the case for a great many people. Anamoto, it's good to see you, my friend. Say, Matt, there seems to be a lot of natural bodybuilders vouching for the HIIT Metzer method, leading to less injury and better longevity. Overall thoughts? Yeah, so again, this isn't what I'm talking about, folks. People ask me about workouts all the time, like Metzer and everything like that. First off, natural bodybuilders don't exist. If you're a bodybuilder, you're on drugs. If you're a competitive bodybuilder, let me put it that way. Or you've got a crazy amount of motivation, or you got great genetics. Either way, it has almost nothing to do with your workout program. And that's the thing that is very important to understand about overworking is when we think it depends on the workout program you follow or the diet you follow, again, you're not focusing on goals or results. You're focusing on work. The workout program does not give you results. It's just the work you do. And you're kind of hoping that it's going to get you in the ballpark of what it is. Now, can you do it with Mike Metzer? Absolutely. Is it going to be easier with more volume? Absolutely. So it's never a question of does it work or does it not work? It's just whatever's easier for you. That's the be all end all. You could have 1,000 people say, I got insanely jacked on the Metzer method. And if you're like, yeah, but it's just really hard for me to do it that way, well, then it's a bad method and you shouldn't do it. End of discussion. And I'll be covering this in the podcast probably next week, is the 4 things that you need to do in order to make things a lot easier. And a large part of that is what is easier for you. It doesn't matter if it worked for other people. It really doesn't. You know, it's like, it's been working great for these people. Well, anytime you see a result on somebody, they're jacked, they're lean, they're fast, I guarantee that workout that they're following has about that much to do with it. It's a part of the puzzle, but it's a relatively small part. It really doesn't really have that much to do with it. It has to do with a lot of the other variables and influences that are being applied in the method. And that's what we need our compass on. Doesn't matter what I think of the Metzer method. It's not that important. The workout program you do is not that important. The objective you achieve is it going to be the easier way for you to challenge your work capacity with the Metzer method? I don't know. That's for you to answer. I can tell you right now, that's going to be a lot harder for me. So no, I'm not going to do it because your results don't come from the program you do. They don't come from the work you do. They come from the objectives you reach. and how well that program or the work helps you achieve that objective is where the value lies. Mr. Stratocaster following up saying, thanks for answering my favorite exercise. Good. It's awesome. It's wonderful. That's why I was thinking of doing that for strength and swimming for endurance and muscle. 40, 60 lengths once a week may not be too hard and so forth. Yeah. And remember, folks, don't make goal for hard work kind of thing. So it's like, okay, 40, 60 lengths once a week may not be too hard. I bet if I did it 3 times, that'd be harder. It's like, no, we're still making hard work the goal. You make the objective the goal instead. Because anytime you're piling work into your plan, you may very well be making it harder for you to actually succeed as well. All right, let's see, any more? I should probably start wrapping this up. So anyway, my friends, so hard work necessary, but it's also a liability. Take it like something that is you need, but you want it in the right dose, and don't chase after it for its own sake. And when you know your objectives and what you're after, as I discuss in my books, and Beautiful Strength and everything like that, that's the thing that's important. Go after those objectives. And I'll cover those in the next episode. I'm also going to be posting a video here on those as well in much more detail. So make sure you're subscribed and you're following along for the videos here, like, share, subscribe, all that kind of thing. You know what all the little buttons do and stuff. And don't forget, check out the resources that I'm recommending for you this week. My new program, Beautiful Strength, for building a beautiful aesthetic physique. Iron Core Calisthenics is just out yesterday. It's a quick read, so it's only in digital. It's PDF on the PDF store, reddeltaproject.com, and on Amazon and Kindle. It's about solving core training for you, so you have a strong core for the rest of your life. And of course, my new favorite shirts, Into the AM, discount code down below, 10% off for the shirts that help you show off your beautiful strength, even when you're wearing clothes. I will talk to you folks next week. Best of luck in your workouts this week as well. And till then, be fit and live free.